Welcome to the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast. I am your host, Christine Diane Thompson, and this podcast is for dietitians who are ready to stop apologizing for wanting more money, more freedom, and a career that actually honors everything that you bring to the table. This is where we ditch the guilt and start building something big. If that resonates with you, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Hey there, my friends. Welcome to episode 372 of the Make More Money as a Dietitian podcast. So great to have you back for another episode on the pod. Today is a really great episode that I think is going to resonate with so many of you out there because as dietitians, we love to plan all of the things and know all of the things ahead of time because that's how we're trained. We have to have all of the evidence first before we make any type of recommendations, right? But my friends, let's talk about that today and how that doesn't work so well when you've decided to go ahead and move forward to become a business owner in your own private practice, whether that's full-time or part-time. Okay. So many of you can get caught up in research mode. You might be Googling how to start a nutrition practice. You're watching YouTube videos about businesses and how to plan ahead and move forward with all the things. Maybe you're joining Facebook groups, asking questions over and over again. And I get it. Okay. Because knowledge feels good. When you rack up all the knowledge, it makes you feel really safe. Am I right? But here is the truth. The less you know about how to do something, the better off you actually are. Okay? And I'm going to prove that to you today. So stay with me. So let's start with some truth telling, because if you've been around for a while, you know I love telling my version of the truth. When you say, I need to know exactly how to do this before I get started, I want you to know what you're really saying is, I need to guarantee that this will work before I risk anything. And that, my friends, is not how any of this works. I see so many dietitians spend months, maybe even years, creating business plans for their practices that don't even exist yet. They're researching all the things like software for clients that they don't even have, or they're perfecting their websites, creating a website for services that they haven't even delivered yet. Some of you might even be trying to solve problems that you haven't even encountered yet. And you know what actually happens from all this researching? Absolutely nothing. Nothing happens because you never get started. So here's what I really want you to understand. When you when you're over-researching, that is just procrastination in disguise, okay? I like to say it's procrastination in a business suit. It feels productive, but it's not really moving you forward. It's keeping you exactly where you are with just more information, okay? And the truth is you already know enough to get started. So this is for my procrastinators out there. I don't want to get started until I know all the things or until I feel like I'm ready. But I want you to know that you already know enough to start. You have a nutrition degree, probably 2 of them. You understand how to help people. You've been doing that all along in your job. Okay. You know how to have conversations with people. And that is literally all that you need to get the ball rolling. But your brain wants more certainty because uncertainty feels really scary. And I get that. But here's what's even scarier, okay? Staying stuck. because you're waiting for some level of certainty that actually does not exist. Certainty does not exist in life, all right? Let alone business ownership. Now, I want you also to know that every successful business owner that I know started before they felt ready. And you've probably heard that 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it 1,001. The most successful business owners did not have the perfect websites when they got started. They didn't have comprehensive business plans. They didn't know their ideal client avatar perfectly or have their brand messaging figured out. They just started having conversations with people who needed help, who needed what they had to offer. And what happens when you do this is that you learn by doing. You figure out your niche by working with different types of clients and seeing what lights you up the most, or maybe even lights up the clients the most through your work. You discover your unique approach by actually practicing it, not by thinking about it and planning it out. So when I first got started, I had no idea, my friends, that I become known as the money mindset dietitian. That was not part of my big business plan. And if you've been around for a while, you know the story of how this started. It started because I just kept noticing more and more dietitians blaming the academy for their lack of making more money. They were not doing the internal work of taking personal responsibility and all of the other things that comes with mindset work. Okay. Now, if I had waited until I knew more about what I was going to be doing and who my niche was going to be, if I had tried to plan all of that out ahead of time, I would have missed it completely. I wouldn't even be here talking to you right now. And this is why clarity actually comes through taking action, not through thinking it all the way through. You cannot think your way to clarity. You have to experience your way there. Okay. Now, I am not at all suggesting that you just fly by the seat of your pants and wing everything with no plan whatsoever. All right. But what I am suggesting is strategic unknowing. Okay. And that means focusing on what you need to know now, not trying to solve for every possible scenario in the future. So here's the beautiful thing, okay, about not knowing how everything will unfold. You get to be flexible. You get to adapt. You get to pivot when something better shows up. But some of y'all are scared of adapting and pivoting and being flexible because some of y'all think that that means you failed. Okay? Because when you overplan, you become attached to the plan. And when reality doesn't match your plan, which rarely it does, my friends, you feel like you're failing. But when you start with little less certainty, you're open to the possibilities that occur that you never could have planned for. So I want you to think about it this way. If you knew exactly how everything was going to go, where is the growth in that? Where's the opportunity to surprise yourself? Where's the space for something even better than what you actually imagine? All right. So the most successful people I know are comfortable with a little uncertainty because they trust themselves to figure it out as they go. They don't need to see the whole staircase. They just need to see the next steps. So, how do we actually put this into action? How do you move forward without knowing the full how? First and foremost, I want you to get clear on what you do need to know versus what you think you need to know. So you need to know how to have a conversation with a potential client. You do not need to know your 5-year business plan, okay? You need to know what outcomes you help people create. But you don't need to know every possible objection that someone might have and your perfect response to each and every single one. You absolutely need to know how much you want to charge, but you do not need to know how to scale to multiple 6 figures before you've even made your first $100. Okay? So you see the difference. Focus on your next right step, not step 100. Now, the second thing I want to suggest is that you take what I call minimum viable action. What is the smallest step you can take today that moves you forward? And maybe that's posting on social media if that's your thing, that you're starting your private practice. Maybe it is reaching out to one person who might be interested in working with you. You do not need a perfect Instagram strategy. You just need to post. Okay? One thing, you don't need a comprehensive intake process, which so many of my dietitians that I've worked with really believe. Okay? You just need to have one conversation that is going to help someone learn more about you and how you help. The path reveals itself as you walk in it, my friends, not while you're standing at the starting line trying to see all of the curves along the way. So here's what I want you to remember as we close up this episode. I want you to remember that your willingness to start before you're ready is actually your competitive advantage. Because while everyone else is still researching and planning, you're out there gaining real life experience, okay? You are building confidence through action, not through gathering more information. You're creating results and not just possibilities. So here's my challenge for you this week. What is one thing you could do this week without needing to know the full how? What's one imperfect action that you can take this week? And I want you to know that if you're ready to stop over-researching and start creating real results in your practice, I want to invite you to work with me. Because the women that I work with are not waiting for perfect clarity. They are creating it through bold action. And you can find all the ways to work with me at manipuracenter.co on the booking page. So that's manipuracenter.co/booking. And as always, I want you to know that if this episode sparked anything inside of you, share it with another dietitian who needs to hear it, because you and I know that there's so many more of us that need to kind of dismantle that procrastination due to perfectionism and needing to know the how type of message. Okay. Thank you so much for being here this week. I hope this has inspired you to take inspired action, minimum viable action. Okay. You can do this. And I am here with you every step of the way. I'll see you next week for another episode on Make More Money as a Dietitian. But until then, trust yourself, my friend, enough to start before you're ready. Bye for now. Hey there, my friend. If something in today's episode hit different, I'd love that for you. This week, I invite you to take one action that feels a little scary yet honors your work. And for more resources and ways to work together, head on over to manipuracenter.co. Remember, you're not asking for too much, my friend. You've just been settling for too little.